So I assume if you're watching this video, you have at least tried to create your own conlang before, or you know something about conlangs. Well, there are people who don't know about conlangs who still want to talk about conlangs and, in fact, try to teach people how to make conlangs. Whoever edited the wikiHow article for how to create a language was one of these people, probably the only one stupid enough to try to do this. This article was apparently created by someone who works for wikiHow, and that's the most baffling part of all of this, because it is the worst thing on conlangs I have ever read. Except for, I guess, for La Fundamento, but I'm just gonna stop, dropping shade. That's not even the correct phrase, I don't care. Step 1, Part 1. Identify simple words that you can use to form basic sentences. That's probably a good idea, except it's first. It's first of the things you should do. Okay. Assign sounds to pronouns like I, my, he, his, she, her, they, and incompetence. Then decide how you'll say verbs. I'm just going to stop this right now and point out the fact that they're saying that this is what you should do first overall. And the drawing they have is of somebody creating logographs as one of the first things. The logograph for he and his are completely separate. There is the word to, which I can't tell if it's supposed to be for infinitives or not. So everything so far seems to completely allude to the fact that the person who wrote this has no idea what they're fucking doing, which is because they don't. You can also include simple words like and, the, but, or. Okay, I forgot to read out the verbs section, and because of the way I'm recording this, I can't be asked to fucking do it again. But having the verb to be is not really a necessity. In fact, all of these things are not necessities. Like, there's no reason to do all this. This is shaping up to be really good. It implies that you have to have articles. And the are not required words, and huge languages around the world do not have them. You can also make up words from numbers up to 10 and then decide how you want your language to count to 100, implying that base 10 is the only number system. Great job. Then they give examples of good conlangs. They have, in the fictional Cinderella language, him is translated to Hon. In Dothraki, she is translated to Anya. And then it just goes on like that. But, like, those aren't just random words. They have relation to other words with similar, like, pronouns aren't just things you create. Oh my god, this is gonna be terrible. Step 2. Come up with words for common things you encounter in daily life. Okay, so, good idea, but it's first. It's again, this is the second step overall. This is the first thing you'll read when you start reading this guide. Okay, the second thing you'll read overall, but still haven't created your sounds, haven't created any grammar, so already you've failed, basically, completely. You've basically already probably created relax. How to create an English relax. What a great thing to do. I'm sure there aren't enough of those. Start naming everything you can think of. This implies you should give them all separate root words, which is a terrible idea. A really bad idea. Words don't just appear. Like, there are a ton of compound words. Like, if I call the person who created this page a motherfucker, that isn't a single thing. It comes from the two words mother and fucker. This is an important thing to figure out, and figuring out how it'll work is a thing you have to do while creating a grammar, which is something they haven't talked about yet. Oh, but you get ready for that. It's going to be super good. Write down how it sounds when you say a word out loud. Yeah, create a romanization system. Maybe create the list of sounds in your language. Jeez, what the fuck? If this will start helping you think in your new language, because we need more huge fucking idiots. Things you should add first. Items around your house, probably not necessary to add first. Days of the week, not really strictly necessary to have separate words for those. Time, vague. Body parts, fair. Food, fair. People, I don't know what they mean by this, but it sounds sort of concerning. Jobs, locations, clothing, and more. Unless you're making a naturalistic outline spoken in a fictional world in which locations, if they're talking about countries, will be a bit concerning and weird. Here's the worst part of this one, though, where they completely get the existence of the Romance languages wrong. If you're stumped, remember you can borrow words from other languages. You can even alter the word. No shit. Is this, like, really? It's probably a good thing to mention, though. But then they go mention an example, and you just gotta listen to it. I don't know how to describe this, but it is an example, I guess. Except it isn't an example, so. The French word for man is homme. Homme, I don't know, I don't speak French. The Spanish word hombre is almost the same word, with only a few letters and the pronunciation changed. This is not a borrowing. They're descendants of the same language. This is not the same fucking thing. There are so many examples in English of this that you could have chosen, but instead you decided to do this boring, stupid shit. I don't know why I said boring. It's not boring, it's just really dumb. In fact, it's more like the opposite of boring. It's entertaining to see how incompetent bad this is. Oh, look, it's the worst advice I've ever seen. Create your own dictionary by translating from your native language. Oh no. No. No, please do not. Please do not say what I think you're going to say. Open the dictionary and begin translating any random words from your native language into your made-up language. Hey, do not call it a made-up language. That's sort of like a bad way to think of it because it makes them seem less real, when in fact, like, there are a ton of made-up languages that are, like, more than just, oh, it's made up. Like, really. I don't know what point I'm making. Just made up language sounds stupid and I hate it. I don't know why I'm ranting about this. Let's get on to the worst part of that. Translate any random words from your native language. This is how you get people to make fun of you. This is how you get people to make fun of you, by just translating random words from English. Like, just translate homophones the same. This is called a relax. Making the same language as English. What the fuck? You can also use translation dictionaries to find out how words are pronounced in different languages. I don't know what they're trying to say here. Like, why? What? Like, borrow words, I guess? But all three of those languages, the two languages they choose, are very related to English in a broad sense. Spanish isn't very related to English, but it still is pretty similar. In general, simple common words should be shorter. For example, a long word like, I'm not going to get this pronunciation right, and again, the way I'm recording this means I can't go back and redo it very easily. Kesolaikonoditos would mean volcanic ash. With a short word but like yub would mean you, and a medium word like umevo would mean movie. What? This is not always true. Like, things that have long phrases in English could be single words in languages where the thing is more important. Like, if you have a culture where, for example, conlangs made by incompetent people who should never touch a piece of paper with a pen, if that's important to the culture, they could have a single word for it. In English, it's not an important thing because these people are not important in any way, so we have a long phrase for it. Combine simple words to create compound words. Good idea. Like, good idea. Might have mentioned that before, maybe. Probably should have. It mentions that this works great for nouns, which is, I guess, fair, but like it's kind of like a bad way to think about it because it makes languages less diverse. If you say, don't use this for verbs, use it for nouns. Well, that's what people are going to think when they read that. Dumb people. Because who the fuck is using wikiHow to learn how to create a conlang? Simply take the first noun that describes a function of something, then add it to another noun that describes what the noun is. Fuck you, actually. Because that's literally that is not even close to true. Compound words are not using two words of that exact category together. Compound words can be made from any two words. They seem to be creating strict rules for what you can do with your conlang, which is very not good. Although I guess I am telling people they shouldn't create words first and then just make stuff up at random, but that's kind of like obvious. Basically, the point is that you don't have to take a function word and a description of a word to create a compound word. They can be created from any two nouns as long as you say they can be. Also, creating compound words can be more simple and harder, not simple. I do not want to re-record like 2 minutes of audio each fucking time. Jesus. There is a pause function. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, for example, if the word Ginza means China for some reason, why the fuck would that mean China? And the word bever means drink, you could create the word Ginza bever, which means tea. Which one of those is a function? You broke your own rule. This works because the beverage tea originated from ancient China, so it can be considered a Chinese drink. They don't necessarily have to make much sense. Because it's fucking language. Nothing about language makes any fucking sense. Name your language using your new sounds and vocabulary. Again, we've never learned how to make sounds. We haven't gotten fucking up to it. Jesus! Use your new language to come up with a name for the language. You know, just by like typing, smashing in letters at random and calling it that. I suspect that's what they're going to tell us to do. Try to come up with a short, unique word that encompasses the origin of the language or identifies the race of the people who speak the language. Oh my god, people are going to be using this for their fucking novels. Oh no. Oh, those are gonna suck. How to identify a bad... what the fuck is that name they chose? Asian? Is this Hungarian? Asian? Asian maybe? Asian? No. Don't do that. Don't do that. The name of your language doesn't have to be related to a race or country, but it can be if you want it to be. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you name it after an existing language or race if it's a fucking conlang? It's not a goddamn derived from anything. Okay, it is derived from all these that are made are going to be derived completely from English. So I guess you can call them all English. Oh, hello, that's a conlang. English is... Okay, there's a conlang called... It doesn't fucking matter, Jesus. Then they come up with a bunch of examples, but they don't, like, mention, like, how the name Dothraki is actually from a verb, meaning to ride. I believe that's true. Like, they just say, they live in the Dothraki Seas. That's the name of their language. Except that isn't the full fucking story, because David D. Peterson is good at conlanging, unlike the person who wrote this. Okay, we're up to the sound section, and I hope you're ready. Because, you know, we've already created some words. It's time to make a fucking sound inventory after the fact. Jesus. Create your own alphabet if you want to write in, what was with the lithography you showed before? Also, this page cites Omniglot for types of... Okay, I'm just gonna... Okay, because I just realized something as I'm recording this, because I don't have a script, I'm a fucking idiot. But why have lower and uppercase? This is literally a one-to-one correspondence. Why? How the fuck do you fuck up this bad? How do you have so... Okay, there are a ton of people who've tried making conlangs whose understanding is this bad. But, like, organize them into a pattern to create an alphabet. You don't need to have an alphabet. Syllabary, logography, featural, abjad, abugida. Please fucking mention any of them once, please. You can even sing it out loud. What? You've never said to name them. People are just gonna give them English names and it's gonna be the worst. Jesus. This is fucking, like... I don't even know anymore, man. But, like, okay, so I'm gonna go into the next one now. This is the reason I clicked on this article after searching on it and finding it. I was searching out for a YouTube video and found this. And this next page, some of the text on it was shown, and I just clicked immediately because I knew that it was going to be so appalling. I hope you're ready for the worst part of this article, probably. Let's fucking go. Jesus. Borrow letters from an existing alphabet for an easier route. Oh no. Oh no. Consult the Latin, Cyrillic, Greek, Georgian, and Coptic alphabets, which are still used in the world today by native speakers. What? What the fuck do you borrow letters from existing alphabets, but also make your own alphabet? What? What? What the fuck? Maybe initially I thought this was talking about romanization systems, but like, you should never ever do this. Why? Like, why the fuck would you just take it out of nowhere? This is like, oh no. It'll make it easier for people who use these alphabets to learn your language, except no one's ever gonna want to fucking learn it. You can combine alphabets by using letters from both Latin and Cyrillic, although you really never ever should mix alphabets because it makes it an ass to write. You can use ya for the J sound, for the Y sound. I don't know why I read out the J. I suppose whoever wrote this would probably pronounce it as the J sound, because they're more non-accepted. Let me clarify. But in Latin letters for other sounds, except for the fact that there's a Latin letter there are two that correspond to ya, that you could use instead of ya, which doesn't even make the same fucking sound. It makes a, a vowel, but it has a consonant at the start because Russian is fucking weird. Why would you use ya for that? Why ever? Jesus fucking Christ, this video is getting more and more terrible by the fucking second. We have to continue on, I guess. I don't know anymore. You may also want to use romanizations. Good idea, probably, definitely. The Russian word znayu is romanized into English as znayu. This will be useful if your language does not use the Latin alphabet. Thanks for mentioning this after you make the writing. Why would you do that? Okay, now I'm just confusing myself. I don't even know anymore. Jesus. Fuck. Use pictographs or symbols, same thing, to visually represent words. This is presented as a required step. Why would you write out what each word means using simple lines to create a pictograph or symbol? Just fucking make random lines. That's how logographies work. That's how fucking Chinese works. It's just a random line. There's no pattern at all. Make sure each symbol or marking has its own unique sound, completely missing out the fact that doesn't necessarily have to be true. Many languages, like Chinese, use pictographs or symbols to represent their spoken language. Name any language outside of Japanese, Chinese, or ancient Egyptian that uses logography now. Exactly. Also, who the fuck considers numbers pictographs? Really? Really? Fucking hell. Oh no. What the fuck is this? What? Oh no. I'm talking about the next one. Here's the next slide. Add accents to existing letters to create new letters or sounds. To keep your alphabet short, include accents, which are little marking above and below some of the letters. That's called a diacritic, not a fucking accent. Generally, accents can go on vowels, such as a, e, o, u, and y. I don't know why I'm pronouncing it phonetically. And some consonants, like all of them, because it is not limited. For example, E can be pronounced like the in dress, while E with an acute accent can be pronounced like the in of. Except why would you write that with an acute E? Normally, I've seen mostly people either for some reason use a fucking schwa, which is hard to write, or an E with a diaresis, or an umlaut, as I still like to call it, even though it's not on a U in here. Like, Mm. This is so confusing me because of how bad it is. I mean, this video is terrible as well, but like, why the fuck? Just don't add accents out of nowhere. Make the sounds and make a romanization system based on it, and then make some grammar and some words and some bullshit, and it probably might be good, but who gives a fuck? You've done it. Good job. Okay, next segment, I guess. Grammar. Let's get up to the fucking grammar. After the sounds and vocabulary have been completely made, apparently. Pick the best word order. Why? In English uses subject, verb, object. Japanese uses subject, object, verb. Thank you very much for explaining what any of this means to anyone who doesn't know what any of this means. I mean, most of the people who read this page are not going to know what any of this means. Why are you confusing them? It's not even well done. Once you decide this order, you can make general rules about where to put adjectives, possessors, adverbs, and more in your sentences. Thank you for putting this in the one about, what the fuck? Maybe do this before. Why are you doing this now? Don't do this now. If you want the subject, they never explain what a fucking subject or an object is. And there are many people who are not going to know. Oh my god, this line. Then decide what order people should place the words to ask a question. Because of course, every language has a separate, and it's not basically just Germanic languages. Having a separate word order for questions is a very, very, very Germanic thing, and you'll be criticized heavily for adding it in, probably. Unless you, don't fuck it up. But you're gonna fuck it up. Choose a prefix or suffix for nouns if you want to show a distinction between one and more than one. Some conlangs use double words. Which conlangs double the word to do that? Also, that is a natural language thing, not a conlang thing. What the fuck? Which means the word is repeated 2 times. Yes, I know, I'm reading this part. Keep in mind you can construct a language without plural nouns, but it can become confusing to learners and speakers, except no, it can't. The biggest language on the fucking planet doesn't have plural nouns. People are going to be fucking fine. Unless they're stupid, in which case, why do you want them to be able to communicate anyway? Didn't they give specific examples of what you can use as a plural? They give a suffix, except what if the word already ends in a consonant? Or adding an ah before, which I don't know where the fuck that's from. I mean, I think people can probably come up with them on their own. Really? I mean, why are you fucking... Sorry this video is so bad. Like, I'm kind of getting drained more and more from reading through this whole thing. But anyway, figure out how to use verbs to build sentences, except you've already started to do that, and this is separate from the other one on this. What the fuck? Like, really? Why? In most languages, verbs change on the subject and tense of the sentence. Okay, I suppose probably most do, but a lot of them don't also. Decide if you want to alter the verbs in your language by adding suffixes and prefixes to them. Who to indicate who is speaking what? What languages change verbs depending on who's speaking? But it's not about who's speaking. It's about what the thing who does the thing. If you want to say a person you likes things, this is a huge bad explanation about verbs declining for person. But it's terrible because English doesn't have it very much. They completely gloss over the concept of aspect with you may need to add a word to distinguish between swim and swimming. For example, in French they don't. Je nage, I don't speak French. Can I swim or I'm swimming? Pretty sure French does have a way of indicating aspect. maybe you want to like make that evident, but you have not mentioned aspect at all. You might also want to change the word entirely to match the subject and action of the sentence. Like you just what? You just fucking talked about that, huh? These are normally referred to as irregular verbs. That's not an irregular. That's not a regular verb. That's a completely fucking separate thing. That's not a change the word entirely to match the subject and action of the sentence. An irregular verb. Do you know what an irregular verb is? Because that ain't fucking it at all. Practice speaking and writing in your new language. Start off with simple sentences and move over to more complex ones. I mean, yeah, don't ever speak it to anyone else, though, especially a conlanger, because you will be laughed at by conlangers, and everyone else will think that it's the most boring thing ever because it's so shit, and also because it's making a language. Language is fucking fun, but like no, barely anyone's gonna give a shit. They literally suggest that you should speak it with your friends. This is how you don't get friends. Like, hey, maybe I was wondering. No one wants to fucking learn it, fuckface. If you run into words you haven't created, make them up and ensure they fit into the grammar rules of your sentence. But like, you've never specified any case in which it wouldn't. You haven't even talked about case. This is the end, and case hasn't been mentioned, aspect hasn't been mentioned, nothing's been fucking mentioned. Numbers got a passing look at once. We're not fucking done though, because this page has a Q&A, and the questions and answers are answers and questions. That's what they are. Yes.